Don't smell like
Hello.
Hiya.
Hello. How are you?
I'm jumping on the laptop already.
Rufus. Rufus. Come here. Come here.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. I've got a hello, baby. I'm going to put you on mute for a second so that the camera doesn't keep flicking between us.
All right.
So when I put you on mute like that, you can see that you've got a little cross through your microphone bar now on your phone or on your whatever it is. And that means I can't hear you, but it does mean that you should be able to hear me better. Okay, so I need to know that you can do that. Just give me a thumbs up to tell me that you can hear me okay. Beautiful. Hello, Dodo. What are you doing there? Well, you haven't had enough attention today. I know it's because I've been busy. Yeah. Okay. So you've got a monster puppy. You've got a puppy you're ready to sell on to the next human being that just wants him. Okay. Did you meet Dodo? This is my, come up here. This is my, could have given him away at the drop of a hat for the first few months that we lived together. Yeah, this sweet, lovely little ginger mess, who's now very cuddly and mostly quite well behaved, was horrible. You know, he had me in tears. When he first came to my home, he didn't keep his feet on the floor, and he's got the scratchiest nails in the world, and he would rip shreds out of me, trying to crawl up my body, trying to drag himself up me constantly. And into the third or fourth week, I was in tears. I thought, all this training, all this stuff that I teach and I know that should work, is not working. And then suddenly it starts to slot into place. Suddenly it starts to be effective. Yeah, so just when you really think that you're gonna completely lose it, your dog starts to understand. All right, but in the meantime, we've got to make it possible for you to live without, you know, wanting to throw him in the nearest dustbin or give him away to the nearest stranger. All right, so I'm going to let you have 5 minutes of absolute blurting out how foul your dog is and all the horrible things. And then we're going to try and turn it all around and try and set you off on a better track. Okay? All right, so I'm going to take you.
Rufus.
Right, so there was a good example there. So like now, he won't leave Nora alone. Like he'll just constantly go at her, and if we try and distract him, Rufus, he's constantly headbutting her, 2 paws straight up onto her head and all that lot.
Sits on her, doesn't it? Like
Sits on her. I don't know. He tries to sit on her head all the time.
Rufus, come here.
What was this? He's even got a ball in his mouth, but he's still trying to get her antler.
Up.
Jumping up. So, like the treats, we can have treats to try and obviously do all the training bits we've been taught, but then as soon as you have treats, it'll jump up you anyway and try and get the treats off you. You tell him down and all. It don't. Well, I've tried a few different ways, like saying down and putting the treats on the floor.
I just say off. For me, like he barks all the time. I'm constantly refereeing between the 2 dogs. He bit Lacey, my daughter, the other day. She's jumping up all the time. He's just very rude, aren't you, Rufus? Come on, leave Nora alone. Nora, come on.
Yeah. So yeah, the
No.
jump, like we can be sat, if we sit on the sofa and
Off.
have any food or anything, he will literally take the food off your knee. He'll jump up and
He gets really angry at you if you tell him anything. He like literally will start barking his head off at you. Rufus, off. Nora, you stay here.
yeah, he nips her. So if she tries to get away from him by jumping onto the sofa, he's bit her underneath, you know, on her belly and that.
Yeah, she's got bite marks and scratches, and
He's just nuts.
we do try separate them. Like Nora is allowed upstairs, so Nora will go upstairs, but she won't go up on her own. She doesn't like to be on her own. She'd rather be with a human. So that means we've got to make sure someone's upstairs with Nora and then someone's downstairs with Rufus.
Yeah, but if we could wave a magic wand and fix, you know, it's just the jumping up and the picking on Nora all the time, not having their own little, well, they have got, he'll have his own space. So we've got that over there. His little setup with, well, I'll turn this light on. So he's got like a gate thing that is like a just rectangular shape, bed at one end and toilet at the other end, like we've been told. And if he goes in there to try and separate him, he'll just bark constantly. So I've got peanut butter.
Yeah, we've got
Kong
loads
toys
of
and stuff like that.
Yeah, we've got loads of Kong toys. We've got that. What's that thingy that doctor recommended? The squirrel buddy.
Squirrel
we've got
buddy.
Squirrel buddies. We've got licky mats. We use toilet roll tubes, cardboard boxes, cup holders, literally everything. And he still doesn't want to be in there. But he will to sleep on a nighttime. Like he will go in there on a nighttime and he will go to sleep. And he sleeps through the night, so.
I've muted you because I'm going to interrupt, because what can happen, and it happened with me as well, is you can get yourself to the point where you constantly seeing the things that are irritating you. Yeah. And it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger in your mind. It becomes more of a problem than maybe it really is. So I've given you your whinge time. I've given you time to get it off your chest. And I can absolutely see that is a pain in the backside. You know, there's no question. You've got a very full-on, busy, easily aroused dog who doesn't calm down, doesn't relax very easily. And that's hard work. That's hard. That's a hard person to live with, you know, and I feel you, because that's what Dodo was like as well. I have to tell you, it is possible to get from there to wherever he is just now. Oh, let's see if I can show you. Can you see those together just now? Yeah. So it is possible. I've just moved and looked at them, so everyone else is just coming to ask me if do you want me? Here's Twiggy. Come here, bub. What are you doing? Yeah. So as soon as they think there's something going on, it's normal for dogs to want to be involved. Yeah? Go away. So what we need to teach him is there are rest times. What I really need for this little dog is a routine. I need a way of getting your day planned so that there are times when he can absolutely relax and know that there's nothing going on. So it's not unpredictable times. Yeah, it is times. Now it's rest time. Now you're going to be going in there, you're going to be having a Kong, and regardless of what else, and it needs to be for the dog's sake to begin with, it needs to be that you settle down at those times as well, because otherwise all they can see is there's other stuff going on and I'm missing it. And it's very much like a child, you know, when you say to your child, you know, it's bedtime, but there's a movie on, and you've got friends around and they want to be in the middle of it all and they're not tired and they get grumpy and they get gripey and that's when they play up and that's when they start shouting. And dogs are exactly the same. If they don't get enough sleep and they don't get enough rest and their routine is not maintained, they will find it much, much harder to be a calm thinking person. And he's not very good at thinking at the moment. He's all react. Yeah. So first thing we're going to do is I want you to have a really good think about how you could fit a definite routine for him into your life, which would, to begin with, involve you also having to settle down and relax for that period of time so that he can see you also calm down. We need to try and fit into his life about 18 hours of rest, and that includes your nighttime hours as well. So total 18 hours of sitting, resting, relaxing. Yeah, and that's hard. That means 20 minutes every hour. Now that's not going to fit into a normal human being's lifestyle, so you have to play around with it and see if you can make it so that he definitely gets 18 hours relaxing. And if you like, that can be relaxing with you. If he's going to settle down and do that, if he's going to have a cuddle, that can be that. But if he's just going to, when he's laying with you, if he also is still being busy, still biting, still reacting, then we need to have him learn to rest on his own. All right, so I'll ask you what you think of that. So get you to unmute yourself.
Yeah, obviously. Dogs. Yeah, he on a night time he sort of sleeps from about 10 till 7, sometimes 9 till 7. I work shifts, but we can figure something in, can't we? I think we can figure some time where
The main thing is this time of day where it's disturbing us. If we're wanting to watch telly, then these are just running riot and we're not able to watch stuff.
Yeah.
Even then when you were talking, there was just barking and
going mad. Yeah. Hey. Hey, come in. I ain't got any food.
So the problem is, obviously, every time your dog is feeling that they're not getting attention and they do something that then gains attention either from you or from the other dog, that behavior is reinforced. That behavior is going to happen more because it worked. Okay, so when we set a definite routine, we also set a mental reminder to ourselves. He's practicing calming down, which means that if I respond while he keeps trying to nag me into responding, I'm stopping him from learning to settle down and relax for himself. Does that make sense? So one of the things I noticed, and you've just said, when you're trying to relax on the sofa, he's coming to you and he's getting attention and you're giving it, you know, it's working. He's coming, he's pulling on you, he's pushing on you, whatever, and you are responding. So that's the point at which people go, well, what the hell am I supposed to do then? Yeah, you know, and I understand that. Well, what you need to do is think ahead. You think before the problem, rather than reacting when it's happening. You think, if I were to try and sit on the sofa, I can predict that Rufus will try and get attention from me. What can I do to make it impossible for that to work? What can I do to make it so that he can't get to the sofa? Or what can I do to prevent him from being able to make it work? So with somebody like him that finds it very hard to settle down, I would consider doing things like tethering him so that he can't reach the sofa, but he can still move around on the tether, or putting him into the space, into the gates, with something to do. So you're not just putting him in there, leaving him in there bored stiff, not knowing what to do. You're giving him a pile of things to do in his room that's interesting and entertaining, that you know is safe, so that you can get on with it. It's very much like when you need some time away from your child, you give them a Game Boy and you leave them in the bedroom, you know. So you give him something to do, you put him into a space, and then you school yourself that giving attention while he's trying to gain attention is rewarding attention getting. You wait until he's being calm and he's entertaining himself, and that's when you give attention, but you give the attention at a level at which it's not going to immediately ramp him up again. So when Dodo was tiny, and I made the stupid mistake of deciding to start a business, start a master's degree, and get a puppy all at the same time while I was working full time. He had to very rapidly learn that when I was on the computer, I wasn't going to be interrupted. And the way that I did this was in this space behind me. So this is my office. In that space behind me where that bed is now, where Twiggy's bottom is, that had a cage space in it. And in that cage space, there was a comfortable bed, which was inside a crate, so that I could make the crate into a den space. So it could have blankets thrown over the top of it, so it was dark and quiet, and you could choose to go in there. There was a water bowl, which was a heavy, solid water bowl, so you couldn't knock it over. There were chew toys that were changed constantly with different flavors, either different bits of animal or different flavors of stuff that was wiped into the insides of toys, or Kongs, which were stuffed, so that he had to spend time emptying them. If he's a really good expert Kong emptier, you freeze it, so it's harder and it takes longer. And then, obviously, where I am just now, with my phone, like it is just now, you can see it's looking in that direction. I could monitor how he was doing without actually having to turn around and look at him. And if I saw that he was calming down, or he was chewing and he was starting to relax, I could turn around and give him a bit of a smile, you know, give him a bit of a, doing a good job, mate. Like it when you like that, yeah? And that's now what you've got now, as I showed you, was that if I'm on the computer, this happens, yeah? But that didn't mean to say that for the first few weeks, he wasn't yelling at me and demanding attention from me, because he was. But I knew where he was. I knew that he was safe. I knew that he'd had all of his needs met. So he had water available. He'd been to the toilet. He had food available. He had entertainment and something available to do. And I had set times, regardless of what was going on my computer or with my work, I had set times that were him times, set rota, when he knew that that was going to happen. We were going to play, or we were going to train, or we were going to go for a walk. We were going to do something that was all about him and me. All right, what do you think of all of that? Give me some feedback.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Like where, when we've put him, like when we're trying to eat or something, and because he will jump up at us, we put him in like his pen. We've moved it a few times, but it's behind us, so it is like a case of we're having to look and turn around and see what he's doing. So I think it's a good idea to try and move it in this area where we can see him a little bit better. Do you think?
Yeah, and just not. But the thing is, he backs constantly when he's in there. So even if he's got like Kong toys and stuff, he wants us.
Yeah, they don't seem to keep him occupied for like a long time, do they? He just.
he'd rather try and get our food off us or whatever it is we're doing.
Yeah,
but,
he would.
Yeah, but then we do give him attention when he starts barking at us. We do go over to him and say stop or whatever. So we're just completely blanking, barking. But then it's just hard work, isn't it? I suppose it's something we'll have to do for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it could be like we will start watching something on TV. What was it the other night? We was watching something, and after about an hour and a half, we were 20 minutes into the program because like he was just going mad and we couldn't hear anything, could we? But I tried to ignore him. You find it difficult to ignore the barking. Let's
get some noise cancelling headphones.
Yeah, I do ignore him. I think maybe, I don't know if it's a bit of jealousy as well, because Nora doesn't bark like that. So Nora will sit on the sofa and chill out with us. And because he won't, like he doesn't get that time. But then obviously Nora needs that time with us as well. So we try and make time like individually for each of them. But yeah, he's very stubborn. He's very barky. Like he wasn't to start with. And then he found his voice and was like, oh, I know what this does. But yeah, keeping him occupied. I feel like he would just play all day long if he could. We've started having to like leave him on his own longer because we're both at work. So we've both been at work all weekend, really, haven't we? So we spent like time on his own, and we check him on the camera, and he's all right, isn't he? Really?
Yeah.
He's all right when we're not here. He's quite well behaved. But yeah, when we're here, it's fighting for us, and obviously the jumping up at the children. Like our son did say, when can we send him back to his home where all the other puppies lived? Because he's fed up of having his clothes ripped, and yeah, he bit our daughter. So it's not just a case of him jumping up and clawing. It was you jump up and bite. And yeah, we don't know how to address that either, do we?
No, because it's training the kids as well as us. Like, what do they do when he's jumping up at them and biting them? And
they really struggle, I think. Sometimes it can be really good. What we got a tip from, what's the guy we watch? Dr. Dunbar.
Dunbar.
Yeah, we watch a lot of his videos. And he said about the children feeding like the best treats and stuff. So we did start doing that. So the kids feed Rufus, they hand feed Rufus his food. And for a few days, he did calm down around them. He was kind of like, oh, I'm going to sit at your feet because you're going to give me food. But then it's kind of reverted back to him jumping up at them all the time. And yeah.
So things that occurred to me then, yes, I think you have got an attention issue. Absolutely, every time you get up when he's barking and you give attention to it, you're reinforcing barking. So we can make it clearer to him if he starts barking, rather than go and try and shut him up, leave the room. So I will stay in the room with you if you're quiet, but I will actively take myself away from you, and I will not come back into that room until you're quiet again. And if you start barking while I'm in the room, I'm just going to turn around and leave again. All right, so we give an alternative consequence that doesn't involve us getting involved. So we're not going to start speaking to him. We're not going to shout at him. We're not going to touch him. We're going to go and we're going to look and we're going to go, talk to the hand, because the face ain't listening. Yeah, and you walk off. You're gone. You come back when he's quiet. If he starts straight over, you leave again. Yeah, you can get the kids to do that as well. If he is playing up and over aroused, it's probably that he needs to rest. It's most likely that. But it can also be, things that occur to me can be that just like human children can have forms of attention deficit disorder, then some dogs can. And with dogs, it tends to be food related. It tends to be additives or preservatives in the food that the dog's reacting to. Or if they're getting a lot of human foods, it can be additives and preservatives in things like kids' sweets and things like that. So I would definitely be looking at getting him as natural a diet as possible. So I'm not talking about it having to necessarily be raw or just vegetables or whatever. But when you look at whatever your food is, the less number of ingredients in it, the better. And we definitely want to be avoiding things that are coloured, or so things like Butcher's has the red bits and the green bits and the, yeah, we don't want to be feeding something like that. Yeah, does that make sense? So investigate that. The other things that can affect their ability to relax is, as we've said, lack of sleep, lack of rest, but also stomach upset, any kind of gastric pain, any kind of pain in general can make it harder to just chill out. Being still becomes hard because when you're still, you can feel whatever it is starting to be uncomfortable. So if there's any signs of him having difficulty with his bowels, so if you get an intermittent diarrhea, for example, or if he's got a very noisy bowel, if he produces a lot of gas, then they would be things I would consider that perhaps there's a pain element to it, and we need to make sure that that's not the case. They are a social animal, you know, they're naturally supposed to be in company. So yes, you're right. If he's seeing another dog and wants to be with that dog and wants to be with you, it's going to be frustrating for him. It's going to make him angry. But that is a case of learning that you can't always have what you want, you know, and with any child, and you've been through it, I'm sure, with your own children, they go through a phase where they've just got to learn you can't have your own way. And we do that without hopefully getting angry with them or using physical force or punishment to teach them. You know, if you feel yourself getting really angry with your dog, then take yourself away. You know, leave them to bark it out, because that's a better result than getting involved trying to physically stop them. The more you physically try and stop them, the more likely they are to learn to use aggression against you. All right. And tell me what you think about that bit, because otherwise I'll just carry on and on.
Yeah, just going back to the food thing and the stomach upset, it does have a lot of gas, but I think that's a bulldog thing. I think more, I don't know if it is. Like, how would we know? I suppose his poos aren't that solid.
They're a bit hit and miss.
Sometimes they are runny.
Yeah, so we've started giving them bran flakes. It's the same with both of them. Like, we did change we changed Nora's food. We've got the food that that we feed Rufus is from the breeder. It's meant to be really good stuff, but
it's got high meat content, but I don't rate it that much. I don't think, because judging by both of the foods, it hasn't got much fibre in. So I'm looking to change the food, to be honest.
Yeah, that is something we was talking about anyway, wasn't we? The treats that we give them, they're all like natural. We tend to feed them all natural stuff, don't we? Rabbit's ears and trachea and all that stuff, and he absolutely loves that stuff. We avoid the processed stuff because our friend, she's got allergies and we don't know what to, so we just kind of try to stick natural anyway. But yeah, I'd not really considered the pain aspect. I just see him as this annoying, bouncy, crazy dog that's just wants his. Sometimes he's really good. Like right now, he's gone to his toy box and he's taken a toy out and he's sat chewing on it because Nora's had enough and she said, like, I'm not playing with you. So sometimes he can be really good like that, can't he? And we do try and reward him then and give him a little stroke and be like, you know, good boy. But yeah, he doesn't do that often, does he?
No.
But yeah, he's sat really nicely now.
On the subject of the pain thing, though, I don't know if you remember Nora when we brought Nora to you, but a leg. You mentioned a leg, and it's we got a knee operation. She had a knee surgery done, and she's a different dog now.
Honestly, yeah, like we came to see you and she was just barking non-stop at you, like non-stop, and even that shocked us, didn't it? And she still doesn't like people, but she's so much calmer. Like, yeah, we had her operated on for a luxating patella, and she's been spayed as well, and yeah, she's so different at home. She really is so different. She's so much happier, you can see it. And we thought getting Rufus would, you know, be like a companion for her, you know, while we were at work, and we thought, but it's not gone that way so far. It just annoys her more than anything. But yeah, they're playing together now, but it's really hard because we're not very good with dog body language. Sometimes we don't know whether they're actually playing, whether Nora's enjoying it or not, whether because he gets really like, he growls all the time when they're playing, but I don't know whether that's like a normal thing. And they kind of wind each other up, don't they? So it is difficult to know when I need to intervene and be like, no, this is going too far, or like whether they're enjoying it. I don't really know.
Which is nice, because that was where I was going to go next. So you've led me quite nicely into that. Well done. All right. So the tiny bit, and I'm going to get you to let me see more, but the tiny bit of interactions that I was watching with them, I think she's giving very good, clear information to him. What she's doing is she's not making him more excited and more aggressive by reacting. So if she were to react, that would give him something to fight against. Yeah, it would give him something to get involved in. But instead, what she's doing is she's turning away. She's turning away, she's turning away, she's turning away. And she's really, really good at ignoring him. She's doing what I want you to do, essentially. When he's coming and he's nagging at you, I want you to take yourself away. I'm not available. I'm not going, because you're pushing at him, you're pushing him away, you're touching him. And that's all attention. That's all inviting him to continue that conversation. Whereas if you do what she's doing, you take yourself away and you remove yourself from the equation, then there's nothing there for him to continue to battle against. Yeah. So yes, I think she does find him annoying, but I think she's doing a really good job of trying to explain to him this doesn't work. Does that make sense? So if you watch them, if you turn them around, I can maybe, I don't know if you'll be able to hear me all right, but I'll give you a running commentary. So I'll have to unmute you so I can hear the noises. So we might cut off a little bit. So if you unmute me as well, so I can hear.
That's Nora's ball. That's Nora's.
No, she just won that tiny little battle without having to become aggressive or shout at him, or, you know, she just said no. And here he comes, he says, what about from this direction? And she said, oh, just take it. So she's not going to argue with him or get upset with him or get involved with him. And now this is lovely. That little, she said, can I have it back? And he said, no. And she said, oh, fair enough then. And this is really cute. Yeah, fair enough. She'd rather you didn't push it in her face. And that's what her body language is saying. But she's not saying she's horribly upset by it. She's just saying, don't really like it when you do it like that.
So this is where he can bite her there.
Yeah, he bites her, like.
So I do have to. I don't know if he was trying to bite her there actually, but he bit her while he was on, when we was on mute and she screamed.
So what I would say is, if she gets to the point where you honestly think that he's hurting her, or she's getting upset with him, then that's a time for him to start you thinking, well, now maybe his arousal levels are too high and I need to intervene and give him something else to do on his own, where he can't just immediately come back and start nagging at her again. So that would be a time to go and go and relax. Go on your bed for rewards if you like, or teach him go into your pen because there's going to be something nice in there.
Yeah.
We need to be able to get ahead of it rather than waiting until it's happening and we're punishing it. What I would like to do is I would like to do a kind of a record for yourselves of how long they generally play before she looks like she's getting annoyed with him, and then interrupt, redirect him 5 minutes before she normally starts to get annoyed.
Yeah.
So you have, so the play is always good natured and you're stopping them before it gets stroppy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And yes, he absolutely, there's no, he will play forever, but that doesn't mean to say it's good for him. If he were in a more natural setting, if he were still with a litter of pups, they would take breaks because they would be absolutely satiated with the play and they would start to self-regulate. Yeah. Whereas now, if he becomes play addicted, which I think he kind of is doing, and he's not getting his rest, then he won't necessarily learn to take that downtime, to take that sleep time, to give himself that rest, and he'll learn to keep going. So you become like an athlete or like an army person who learns to push through and keep going even though you're exhausted. And that's not good for them. That's not good for them mentally or physically. So you do have to set this routine. And I would also set a routine with regards to their play. So you're allowed to play for this long, and then you go and take a break. So again, it's about almost making a rota, like a works rota, but for your dogs. And try and fit it, 2 things to bear in mind: their normal patterns. So make a record of what their normal patterns are at the minute, how long they play for, when you do naturally see them go for a rest, when they do naturally relax, when they do naturally want to go to the toilet, and then look at your own rota of when you need to be able to relax, when you need to be able to be busy and not have a dog under your feet, and see if you can sort of gel the 2 together. Now, they might not come together straight away. It might be a case of slowly building him into that, to build him up to being able to do it. And she says, now's my rest period. Now's when I would rather just relax. And she's doing a really good job of ignoring him. Yeah. And I would have put him away by now. I would have said, no, that'll do. Go on, go and lay down in your bed. Go and do this. Go do that instead. So he wouldn't already have got himself into that condition. Does that make sense? Yeah. Go on then, tell me what came.
Yeah, that's we'll start putting him, giving him breaks in his little pen thing. He's going in there now. See, you probably hear he'll start barking in a minute, but we need to put some more Kong toys and stuff in.
Yeah, I think freezing Kongs and, even putting it on his licky mat and freezing it, just to keep him occupied a bit longer.
Yeah.
Like, because he's knackered, like, but then he's like, we've got his bed on like one side and then he has like a puppy pad on the other side, but he always sits on the puppy pad, doesn't he? Because that's where he can see us from. So I might have to switch that round. So his bed's this end.
Yeah, but he's got the smell of his wee on there now.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it is horrible. I've just, before I was speaking to you, I was speaking to some clients that they've got their very first puppy, and they've been planning on getting this puppy for months, and they've been, you know, getting themselves all built up for it and all excited about it. And you could see through the consult they've been living with this puppy for just over a week, and the woman's almost heartbroken because this puppy bites and it gets crazy, and it, you know, you can see that this wasn't at all what she expected. She expected cuddles and butterflies and, you know, Andrex puppy style behavior, and she's got a normal puppy who hasn't yet learned how to control their emotions, hasn't learned to relax and to settle down and to be touched without getting overexcited about being touched. Yeah. So one of the things you can do to help calm them down, as well as chewing's massively calming. The other one is massage. So when you're massaging your dog, I need you to be very aware of what your hands are going to impart to the dog. And there's a method for helping a dog to calm down, but it's really difficult to do, I think, with these kind of square, muscular shaped dogs. So you do have to kind of try it and see if you can do it, but I wouldn't be surprised if you fail. Okay, and I'm going to show you with Dodo, because he's my youngest, so he's still of all of them, he's the one that's most likely to show you what happens if they say no. Nicotine. Let's get my nicotine out. Okay, so let's move you so you can see us. You can see my indoor trousers, otherwise known as pajamas. I'm going to put you two out. You go that way. Go that way. Munch feet. Okay. So here's the Dodo, and there's a very good chance, because he's not had very much attention today at all, because I've been busy all day. There's a very good chance that if I say that I just want to relax and have a cuddle together, what he's going to think is we're going to have a play. Yeah. So he's going to get excited, start throwing himself around. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take myself away. I'm not going to touch. I'm going to take myself away. And when he finally starts to relax a little bit and go stiller, then I'm going to bring my hands in. If being touched makes him get excited again, and he just started getting licky then, or if when he was a puppy, it was biting us and he'd start throwing his feet around again, then I take myself away again. I'm going to do a little touch, and if he can keep himself relaxed, then I'm going to carry on touching. But if he starts to ramp up and to get more excited again, I'm going to go back to I'm not available. Okay, so once we've got to this condition where I can keep my hands on, here, right at the front of the chest, go around that way, between the legs, we do really, really slow touches, really slow massage up through there. Look at his face. Yeah, really slow. And my other hand isn't really doing anything at the moment, but I do want it on there. I need him to know where the other hand is. I need him to know what the other hand's doing. Okay, really slow. Now, if he starts to get excited again, and I've got to this stage where I've got two hands on, All I'm going to do is I'm going to put that hand on flat and lift and press. Now, if your puppy gets concerned about that, then we take everything away and we go back to not available. Yeah? So if they get more fighty when you try and restrain them, you're not going to continue to restrain them, but you're not going to talk to them or interact with them either. Does that make sense? So then you work them back through it again. Come here. If I touch you, do you get more excited? Are you happy to go still and be touched? If you are, I'm going to do you a really nice chest massage. Look at that yawn. Yeah? I'm going to do you a really nice slow chest massage. If you start to get silly or excited, I'm going to put you into, I'm almost lifting. I'm not really lifting, but I'm almost lifting. I'm doing a tiny bit of pressure here as well. If he calms down and he stops fighting, then I go back to the really slow, really nice calming massage just under there. Look at his face. So that's from a dog who just threw himself at me and I was literally in tears. So if he likes it, and again, some dogs like it, some dogs don't. Ear massages. So right at the very base, come back a bit so they can see you. Oh. Right at the very base of the ear. I'm going to put your head up just so you're on screen, okay? You put your hands so that the ear is between your thumb and your hand. And you get the base of the ear. We're not pressing, we're just going to do really gentle circles. Really gentle, hardly moving at all. Tiny bit of pressure on the upswing and relax a little bit with your fingers on the downswing. Turn up that way so they can see. So I've got my thumb behind and in front, and I'm going to go up a little and down and relax. Up a little, down and relax. And that makes this part of the ear that's attached to the head, it makes it go in circles. Yeah? Up a little and down. And your dog's got to not be uncomfortable if you're going to be doing those movements. Next things you can do that really help them to relax is tiny circles in different spots. Don't move far, and I'm not moving muscle. I'm just literally tiny movements of the skin, nothing else. And I'm moving to a slightly different spot each time so that I'm getting to do the whole body. And if you find a bit that makes them jiffly, move to somewhere else or go to the spot that they've already said they really like. Yeah? And if you're doing it right, they'll want to stay and they'll want to get you to start again. Yeah? So you're going to make it really clear. Silly behaviours, and he wants to play right now. I'm not in the mood to play. Yeah, so he's asking me, he's got a piece of cardboard that he's been playing with. He's asking me to join him with it. So, and I'm just going to say, with my body language, that's not going to work. And if you stick to your guns about what works and what doesn't work without getting angry, your dog will learn, and they'll learn without getting more and more angry themselves. But if you've already got a puppy, which you have, that's been used to getting attention on demand, what can happen to begin with, when you first put these rules in place and you start trying to dictate what's going to work to get your attention and what isn't, you get a situation where they try harder because it used to work before. They will try harder to make you respond. They'll get angry because it isn't responding. And you have to push through that bit. You have to push yourself mentally through that bit before you get to the other side. And actually, when they get really, really, really bad, to the point where you feel like it's not working, that's because they're just about to give up. They're just about to figure out they mean it. They never give in anymore. I don't know what's gone wrong, but I'll have to accept it because this is obviously the way it's going to be from now on. Yeah. So actually, that's called an extinction burst if you want to look it up. And it's, if you can stand to get through it, it's actually a really good sign that the pup's about to give up. Just have to really stick through it. All right, tell me what you think about all of that bit.
You go.
He's non-stop barked. He's gone quiet now. He's non-stop barked since we put him in there. But we've not acknowledged. Well, I haven't acknowledged him. He threw a toy. He threw a toy into his pen, and I was like, "You shouldn't have done that." I've just been ignoring him, but he's getting a bit like whiny now because he's like, yeah. But we just have to ignore. And like you said, we've just got to push through it.
Yeah, the only thing we can do that. We're gonna loads to go out with that, but the only other thing, just like one thing to tell the kids when the dog's jumping up at them, what do we do? What do we tell them to do?
Yeah, they are struggling.
So in your little routine thing that you're going to set up, your rota for your interactions with your dog, you're going to put your children into that rota as well. And what you need to be aware of is that your children do need time with you without the dog, you know? So you need to fit that in as well. You need to say, when do I need to be able to focus on my kids, getting them ready for school, getting them doing whatever it is with them, where I'm not going to be able to divide that attention between them and the dog, where it's not fair to the kids or to the dog to have that divided attention. Yeah. And those times you need to try and slot those into his rest times as well. You need to try and make that into his rotated downtime. And it isn't easy. And I can't dictate and I can't do you a plan because your life is different to my life and the next person's life. But I want you to make time for them. And he needs to learn that's also a time when he can't have time. I want you to really think about quality time. Okay, I want you to keep the idea of quality time in your mind. It's better to spend time with your dog, even if it's a shorter time, doing something that is helping them to learn and to become a better dog, than it is to have them constantly have access to you, but be learning all of the wrong things because you can't focus on them and you can't help them to learn. Does that make sense? So although it feels a bit cruel, putting them away from yourselves and having them learn to be away from yourselves, actually in the long run, that has the benefit that the time you spend together is better quality, higher quality, you know, that they're going to learn better. So the idea eventually is to get him integrated into the family, but he can't do that if he can't practice what you actually want him to do and how you want him to be. So we have to plan ahead and think the kids are going to be doing such and such at such and such a time. Can I do a training session teaching Rufus to settle down at the same time as they're doing that thing? Or can I teach Rufus how to be around them because I can play and interact? I've got time just now where I'm not doing housework, I'm not cleaning, I've got 5 minutes. Let's do 5 minutes of training the kids how to interact safely with Rufus while Rufus is practicing how to interact safely with kids, with you strongly supervising. Yeah, and again, that's quality time rather than constantly having to interrupt and nag and redirect and blah. It's safer that he learns when there's that thing going on at that time of day. That's when I go away. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. So tell me again, how we doing?
Yeah. No, I think, yeah, we need to come up with a plan that works. Like, I think it'll take us a while to figure it out. Like, obviously with lockdown and stuff and working shifts, like, we don't actually have a set routine as such. We do when it comes to the kids, I suppose, when they sit down and do the schoolwork, stuff like that. So they'll be easy enough to plan into it. But yeah, I think we've just got to ignore a lot of his behaviour because it's the negative stuff, and then reward him, and give him like one-to-one time when he's been good.
He's just literally gone to his bed for his first time since he's been in his pen.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Oh, he's come back out now. Typical.
So other things then, making sure that he has got access to definite exercise times needs to be added into your rota. So definite walk times, access to sniffing, really taking the world in rather than high energy running or anything like that. It's more about going and really cooling down. It's about going, sniffing, investigating. So taking him to new places, maybe where other dogs have been, where he can really get a good old-fashioned sense going on. I also want for you to see if you can have playmates other than just your dog at home, because the problem with having two bully style breeds together is that they tend to practice bully style play, which can be quite rough, and they don't necessarily learn how to interact with other dogs. Now, I know he had a go at daycare and was maybe just a bit too rough for other dogs. So you'd need to be looking for dogs who are really good at ignoring puppies without losing their temper. So doing very much what your older girl is doing, but more of it. So if you know any friends, or you can ask for friends who've just got moochy dogs who really don't play anymore with other dogs, but don't get grumpy with them either. They just kind of go, oh, it's a puppy, and carry on sniffing, Dogs you can follow around. Because what we want is we want somebody to model calm behavior for him. We want somebody as a dog that can say, no, we don't do that. We just sniff this, so he can learn to chill out around other dogs as well. So making sure he's getting exercise, but the exercise isn't necessarily winding him up even more. Because what you can get with a dog who finds it hard to relax is you've got this raised adrenaline, raised cortisol levels that are constantly high. And we need to find things like chewing that are going to help him to come down, sniffing that's going to help him to come down, walking and sniffing at the same time, head down, taking in a lot of information, really using the brain. It's very tiring, but it's very relaxing as well. I think a countryside walk when you're all stressed out, about 10-15 minutes in, you start to feel yourself relax down. Yeah. When your physical interactions with him, we need to be very careful that they're also helping him to learn to relax. So that's why the massage, that we're not physically interacting with him too much to move him away from things he's enjoying. Yeah, so we're using something to lure him or lead him away. If you have trouble with that, then sometimes for puppies that are very overexcitable, it's a good idea if they're wearing a lead and a harness around the house, so you can literally just take hold of the lead and take them to where you want them to be. So they don't get the chance to say no. Without you risking being bitten, you literally just go, come on, and the dog goes no, and you go, right, and you take them anyway. Does that make sense? It'll be easier to when you watch the video back, it'll be easier because you won't be having to compete with the sound of dogs barking. All right, so because you'll only be able to hear me because I've got you muted. So it'll be easier when you play it back. All right, so I'll unmute you just now. Let's see how.
Yeah, I don't know what he was just doing. He disappeared to do something.
I took Nora's ball off her because she's constantly barking at it.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, Nora's not perfectly trained, but we wanted to get the basics done with Rufus. But I don't know if sometimes Nora teaches him bad things, but we tend to ignore her as well. But yeah, he's calmed down quite a lot. He's given up on the constant. It's just every now and then he's sort of whining, like, yeah, like, have you forgotten about me? I'm over here. But yeah, once we get off this, we'll let him out, tell him he's been good. He'll probably want a wee now.
Yeah.
He'll be he'll have tired himself out with all that woofing. He'll want a wee.
Yeah, and it's getting used to it as well as us, because it's always worked for him to bark and be let out, so, or be spoken to. So I need to teach myself as well, more than him anyway.
Yeah, you're not very good at that. I'm used to it with the kids. I can just kind of block them out. You've never been good at that, so.
No.
Yeah.
I was an only child, so I was brought up in a quiet house. I think that's why it is.
I think you have to just keep reminding yourself that what gets rewarded gets repeated. And if the dog sees your attention as a reward, whatever they're doing that gets that attention is being rewarded. You know, so it is really hard. I mean, I really strong sympathy for you, because some puppies are designed and mute you again. Some puppies are designed to just drive you up the wall. You know, they're really testy puppies. They really want to know how to make the world work for themselves. You know, whereas other dogs are a little bit more laid back. But if you can set yourself, set your mind, I'm definitely going to do this, eventually the dog won't have anything to fight against. They won't have anything to argue with. And if you're also making sure that you're rewarding and reinforcing and training all the other behaviors that you do want to see more of, eventually the two will come together. But it's not easy. And massive sympathy for you. Yeah. All right. So hopefully that's helped. And that you feel that you can take it forward. I mean, feel free to get in touch with me and moan if there's specific things that don't seem to be getting better. You know, if he's really digging his claws in and it really doesn't seem to be changing. But remember that you're not going to get an instant change either. You're not going to have, it'll be sort of slow progress, and one day it'll seem like he's really getting it, and the next day he'll try even harder, so you'll have a really bad day where he's really trying it on and, you know, really trying to get a response. But over the course of time, the hard bits should get lower and the easier days should start to come to meet them, until eventually you get a pretty steady personality. But it doesn't happen overnight, you know. And then just about when you think you've just about got it sorted with your puppy, adolescence hits. Yay. So it's not nice. There you go. If you want to.
No, I think, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Lot to go at. Yeah, we'll hopefully get some in-person ones as well when
this is
when
over.
we're allowed.
Yeah.
Keep at it. But yeah, I think that's a lot to go at. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
You're mute.
So one more thing. If you can survive motherhood and parenthood, I'm damn sure that you can cope with puppyhood. yes, it's more condensed and they're more determined maybe than children are. And yes, you don't get as much help. You can't just hand them over to grandparents or teachers and have a break from them. But I've never been a parent, but I've seen parents, you know, and I've seen how horrible children can be. If you can do that, puppy, you will get through it. You will get over it. You know, you will help each other to cope. So just set your minds and steel your hearts. And I'm going to do this. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to say goodbye. If you want me to try and help, if you want to make a rota and say, I can't figure out what to do with him in this time, I can't figure it out, then let me have a look and I'll see if I can throw any more ideas in it. But, you know, give it your best shot. See if you can figure out a way of organizing your life a bit so that you've got some sense going on in your lives. Yeah. All right. We'll see you later. Thank you very much. Thank you.